Good evening. This meeting of the Pender County Board of Education is now called to order. A quorum has been determined, and we will now rise for the invocation. I would like to thank Reverend Bobby Owings coming from the gathering at Surf City, who will lead us in our invocation this evening.
Before I pray, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I love it when people say show up and pray. So here we go. Almighty God, we give you thanks for Tuesday. Every day's a gift, and you've given us this one, and we're blessed in that. And so, God, as we gather this evening, we again just want to praise you for the moment and the opportunity we have to come together as a community. God, we ask for your blessing upon our nation and our local community, and we thank you for the leadership in both. We ask you, God, just to watch over us tonight as we meet. We pray for the school board members and just ask for wisdom and guidance, and God, indeed, your grace and mercy. And God, help us to be gracious and merciful to those around us. Again, we give you thanks for all that you've done. Thank you for loving us. Help us to love those around us as well. And we ask you to be with us in this meeting tonight. God, and we just ask that you'd watch over us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Owings. If you would remain standing, Ms. Fontana, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may take your seats. Okay. Board members, have you had a chance to review the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add to consent item number 9.20, the Head Start Cost of Living Adjustment Quality Improvement Funds.
Hey, board members, there has been a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that again?
The name of it was the Head Start Cost of Living Adjustment Quality Improvement Funds. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with,
I've got an addition as well.
apologize, Mr. Hall.
I make a motion that we move item 9.18 from consent to the action agenda as item 10.6.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. Do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Wait a
Second.
second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The agenda has been approved. Okay. Let's see, at this time, Dr. Hill recognitions.
So we have 4 different groups being recognized tonight. We're going to start with a group of kids from mostly Surf City Middle School and one from Hopsville High School, whose artwork was selected to be part of the Azalea Festival last month. So there were roughly 400 entrants, and it wasn't just from local schools. This was open to schools across the state of North Carolina. And we had, we had 4 from Pender County schools that were selected to be part of the Azalea Festival. So tonight we have Sophia Curtis. She placed second with her painting The Waves. We have the 4 paintings up here on the wall here. So Sophia Curtis placed second. Joseph Andrewjack, Naja Bell, Emily Morrison, and Reagan Tracy each received an honorable mention in the Azalea Festival Youth Art Contest. So it's pretty neat. Again, more than 400 entries from around the state, and we had 4 from right here in Pender County to make the cut. So that was pretty cool. And of these artists tonight, Reagan Tracy is the only one that's in attendance. So Reagan, if you want to come up.
information to you. So we're gonna let you hold this, make sure everybody recognizes you're the superstar. Get these people up there.
Good. All right, 1, 2, 3, 1.
Oh, wait a minute, this is Jim.
Yes.
So I'll do that.
Now we're at 1, 2, 3. We'll take one more. And then Stephanie Crable's here as well. She's one of the organizers. Do you want to bring some of the other art up?
Yeah, well, I have a couple big ones. Well, I have all of the art, but these are the ones, the kids that you see on the board got to ride in the parade. And so when they're riding in the parade, they hold their signs. So Surf City Middle School had like 57 entries. And so this is the second place, the Waves, isn't that beautiful? And then,
This is Joseph's, and then Naja rode in the actual parade, so she has
Has hers, yeah.
her actual work.
yeah, so this was really good. I mean, Pender County never gets involved, except for Ashley started last year. And 57 entries, and we also had 2 entries from Topsail High School. And 1 was an honorable mention and 1 was in the art show. So continue doing it. That's why I put my, advertise shamelessly sign. This could be you next year. But thank you so much, for participating. It's such an honor. I love art, and it just showcases kids' creativity. And
Picture
And
we're all
on
this
the
together, yeah.
Ashley Bordeaux is the art teacher.
oh yes, and Miss Bordeaux, yes.
We get some advertising going here.
You hold art. I'll be the advertiser.
Thank you.
Yeah, that
If we take a picture though, we have to keep this. By
way. No, those are for your kids to have.
All right, ready? Awesome.
Great, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And she'll take that for you.
Don't let them.
So we go from art to science. The State Science Olympiad was recently held, and Burgaw Middle School had some kids that did really well. We actually had one who was the overall winner, and now gets the title of Mr. Bottle Rocket. I mean, I've heard of Mr. Basketball before, not Mr. Bottle Rocket, so that's kind of cool. So we have 3 students with us tonight from Burgaw Middle. They qualified, they won at the state level. We have Jacob Avery, Erica Harvey, and Perry Kim, who each qualified for the state competition after they were first place winners in the Wilmington Regional. So they were all first place winners who then went to the state competition. And they were part of an 84-team event in the Science Olympiad at NC State. And they each went up against 48 other kids in their groups. So they, Erica and Perry competed in what's called the Green Generation. And that's things that involve knowledge of human impact on the environment, global warming, ecosystem damage, a lot of the STEM topics. So that was their specialty. Jacob finished first out of the 48, again, earning the title of Mr. Bottle Rocket. So he put together a contraption composed of 2 bottle rockets and a parachute, launched it, and it stayed in the air for 27 seconds. And that was the best, by far, in the state. And that's what we actually have. Because he couldn't be here, we have the video of his successful launch, so we can show that. And then it comes back down. Again, middle school kids, when I was a kid, I did that with water and a pump. I don't know if everyone remembers doing those. But yeah, this is phenomenal. So it just shows how well our kids are doing in STEM. That, again, first place in Wilmington Regional, then again, first place at the state fair. So, again, so we have Erica and Perry are here tonight to pick up their awards, I believe. Yep. smile. Awesome. Thank you.
Feel free to turn the camera off while this is.
Dr. Do you have Jacob's certificate? And I'll just, if there are parents here of the kids, you can email me. I have sent those emails, but I'll give you all the pictures you take. So if you're not able to take a picture, I got you covered. So again, we stick with students doing really cool, brainy kind of things. And these two kids, well, one's a teacher in the picture there, but we have two kids in Topsail High School who are seniors, who have now been recognized 3 different times because I didn't understand what they were doing. That's how dumb of a guy I am. They're in the Merit Scholar competition, and they kept checking boxes and going through hoops and going through hoops until they both won. So they are both National Merit Scholars as Topsail High School. So they have each been here twice and received their certificates for the different levels. It's Caitlin Shepard and Brendan Lyons, who I feel like they're my kids because I see them so often. So because this is such a big deal and such a cool thing, I went and sat them down and interviewed them and talked to them. And I asked them to come with one teacher who was pivotal in their education. So here's what we got.
Place and life, and yeah, it's just amazing.
Last year I was chosen to go to governor's school, and just kind of going there, I was able to, collaborate with other people at these big competitive schools. I think that experience kind of helped me realize that I was a contender.
I wasn't really sure, but I saw that I qualified and I thought I'd go for it because it was a good scholarship to go for. But I thought I matched it fairly well, and I thought I'd try it and see what happens.
I'm excited for just the opportunities that it'll bring. Yeah, I'm excited for college.
I guess the math kind of clicked for me, and I wanted to keep going forward with that. Well, English certainly was not my best subject, and I wasn't too into most literature, but through her class, that really, I started to see the value in it, and it really gave me a new perspective looking at literature.
Brendan was able to come in and use all of those math and engineering parts of his brain to take literature and pull it apart and put it back together in a new way to sort of critically analyze. Just such a sincere and engaged student, curious, doesn't want to ever give up and not understand something fully, and that's super helpful in every content area. So it certainly made him successful in my class.
I really enjoyed her class. I think just the way she taught and spoke, you could really tell that she cares about her students. And our mental health, which I would have appreciated any year, but especially during COVID, it was nice to come to school and we'd have some classes outside and we'd have some time to do yoga. But it was definitely a really challenging class, but it wasn't draining. So that's what I really liked about it.
I've enjoyed all the different class opportunities they've had. I could kind of branch out and do stuff outside my comfort zone and I guess get different perspectives through these different classes.
Just, academics here, the teachers are really great. I've been able to take the classes that I want to and kind of explore with what I've taken. I've taken like theater my first year, taken band, I've taken different sciences and math. So it's just been nice to kind of figure out like what I want to do.
And again, I'll go back to just the way teachers in our system and my colleagues are able to connect individually with students, meet them where they are, and walk with them to the next level. That is just so important. And students like Kate who are able to receive that and open to it, you know, it's an honor.
So again, Caitlin wasn't able to be here tonight. She was actually here last time. Brendan couldn't be there, so Brendan's here tonight. Brendan, come on up. In that video, it had said that Caitlin and Brendan were among the top 15 in their class. Brendan's number 2.
Let's do this.
Brendan, I promise it's the last time we're going to do this.
I like him coming back, means he gets a little bit closer every time doing it all. Getting it all, get that money. Congratulations.
All right, so now we'll wrap this up with the teachers. You saw Amy Stewart in that. She wasn't able to be here, and she's actually part of this one too. A group of teachers at Topsail High School, called the Topsail Intervention Team, when everyone started to transition back to what is now normal school, they realized that there was still going to be some difficulty for some kids coming back. And to normalize that, perhaps a mentoring program should be put in place to help those kids, you know, transition on through this, through, again, going through COVID and now the normal. So if Dr. Obeda wants to come up, principal at Topsail High School, to talk more about this, because all this is going on at his school, a good number of teachers involved.
Yes, sir. If I could also invite the intervention team, board members, superintendent. The intervention team is made up of teachers that have volunteered their time and services. There's no additional funding for that. They meet with 5 or 6 students each, sometimes up to twice a week. They fill in that gap and work with their families. Our goal is, again, you know, to build those relationships. If we build relationships, then academics will fall into place. And a lot of our kids due to COVID, we still have, it's a national problem. But these teachers took the time, and there's roughly 20 to 25 teachers that volunteered their time outside of all the other duties that they're assigned to take these kids in and work with them, not only on just academics, but social and emotional learning, and whatever they need from home, and they collaborate with their families as well. So again, we're going to look at the data at the end of the year over the summer once testing is over to see what improvements we made, and I'm very confident that that will take place. And then we will also look at areas of and reflect on what we did and then what we can do to do better. We've had some students enter the program and exit. Some obviously refuse to go through with the process. But it says a lot when you have 5 or 6 students per staff member, like I said, it's up to 25 staff members, that appreciate that help and that nurturing environment, so that family away from home. So at this time, if you would, just come up and let's recognize who they are.
You have Crystal Hall, please. Alicia Schreiber. Jack Teachy. I don't think they're all. It's just that top.
Dr. Hill, the ones you have should be in alphabetical order, the certificates. Through Thomas Matos.
Melissa Andrews. Ms. Bailey Blackwell cannot be with us. She had a little girl, I think it was yesterday. So, congratulations to her. Charlene Carroll. Victoria Evans. And Miss Varga. I'll start with her. Hey. Thank you. David Henry. And Thomas Marcos, he's here. Jason Poston's here as well. Mr. Poston, Jason Poston. Ben Shosix is not here. Melissa Shosix is not here. But again, these teachers, like I said, they took their time outside of their normal duty schedule to mentor at-risk youth.
So I'll tell you all right away, the lens is not that wide.
I want a shirt, Chris.
Is Mrs. Radebach gonna join us?
She's having a Are you sure you don't want us to get teacher? Congratulations.
We're not gonna leave.
All right, we ready? 1, 2, 3. 2 more. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
This time this year, it'll be the final presentation.
That was the final presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, we have public comment, and I do have some guidelines that I need to read before we start calling everyone up. The Pender County Board of Education welcomes comments from our parents, students, and community. The public comment period is open for members of the public, including parents and students, to voice compliments, concerns, or complaints about the performance of school personnel, implementation of board policy, the quality of education programs, or school facilities. Each person is granted 3 minutes for their presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene, vulgar, or profane statements and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or imminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting will not be permitted. So, our first name on the list is Mr. Kenneth Key.
I'll stop with 3 minutes too quick. First to the board and superintendent and Ms. Chestnut. Ms. Say good evening to you. This is about the 5th time I think I've been here in reference to the request made by the alumni from Annandale School. So I don't need to go through all that because you know why I'm here. I got a letter dated April 22nd, 2021. That was to the board members in request to consider the name change to the school because it was the equalization school built in 1955. It was changed by that board in 1968-69. I don't know that board, but I know the mentality of the boards in that time. I know Mr. Smith, Mr. Hall, Ms. Burns, Ms. Fontana. You all are a totally different group of people from that group. I know you individually, you're a good group, but for this group to go a whole year and the board not recognizing them, not send a letter, phone call, say, look, we received your letter. They've been here to board meetings, they've been nice, they've been patient. That's unacceptable. Now, I served on this board for a little while. There's no way I would sit on that board and let this happen for this longer period of time. All they were asking you for was to meet with them, sit down, talk with them, give them a vote. That's all they asked for. There's nothing rude, discourteous, or disrespectful, anything about it. It was a black school. This is not a racial issue. I pointed out the last time that it's got nothing to do with this critical race theory stuff that's come up. By the way, all that is the new boogeyman in education. And you know what boogeyman is when you're little, they say you cut up the boogeyman to get you. But that's what they're doing in education now. It's got no place. What they want you to do is give them the courtesy and the respect of giving them a vote. At least acknowledge them. I mean, that's unacceptable, the whole year. April 22nd, looking at the letter right here. That's too much, and so I'm sure that you all can take care of that. That's just too much. And you all are better people. You're a whole different group of people than people in 1968. Pender County's had some bad history with schools is concerned. The high school was Pender County Training School one time, but when I started working with the state, actually a training school was the place you sent delinquent and undisciplined children. I worked in all of them all across the state. That wasn't what our children were about back then, so down through the years, the boards have been bad. You all are better than that. We're heading in a new direction, so I ask you to give them a vote at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Next is Mike Korn.
I really appreciate coming up here, and this is what school is all supposed to be about, is learning and achievement, and I congratulate all these people out here. You treated on my time. I didn't get up here yet. My name is Mike Korn, and unfortunately I have to talk about this. I'm a candidate running for sheriff, which I would normally not say, because I'm also a citizen of Pender County. All right? So I'm also, but what I have to tell the board tonight is very much affects the integrity of myself and a few of the citizens of Pender County that brought up some important but harmful information to our information that's harmful to our students, which has been going on across the country. It was first brought to the attention of the people of the state of North Carolina by Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. I attended a school board meeting several months ago, and I inquired about the pornography in the schools, the teachings of transsexual and homosexual and stuff like that, under the table where the parents, by the way, are not supposed to know about this stuff. So I brought that up, and I was told by a reputable board member, which I think has a lot of good integrity, that they might be denying that it's in the school, but it's in here. It's mandated. It's mandated. And that gentleman has a lot of good integrity. I'll just say that. All right? I brought this up afterwards on the social networking group because I was involved in debates in Hampstead, couldn't make it here. And Mr. Brad George, your chairman here, he made some quite insulting remarks to me. He said that our citizens were lying, we were making up this stuff, that there was no such portholes for access to this. Well, let me tell you all something. I've been in law enforcement for 20 years. When I make a statement about something that's illegal, felonious, unconstitutional, and I bring it to the attention of the school board or your school board members, I have integrity. And I have looked it up. Reasonable suspicion, probable cause, totality of the circumstances. I looked it up. I brought it to the attention of the school board through Brad Jones on social media. We had other people, concerned citizens, bring it up right here while I was at the debates, and we were all called liars. I was told that I was a bunch of propaganda. I was doing it for political purposes, and that is defamation of character. He's not only said that, he said a few other things here. That is defamation of character. Now, I sent everybody an email about that also, right? A little while later, after the last debate we had up in Hampstead, I was talking about this again while the citizens were talking about it here. Several days later, after the denials and being cut off, things like that, Brad George suddenly issues an apology. But he didn't blame himself, he blamed the others. He said 3 or 4 times he was supposed to have that investigated, and the person he gave it to investigate it failed him. So he didn't take responsibility. He apologized.
Thank you, Mr. Corn. Your time is
Our
up.
moment, but he never apologized to me,
Mr.
and I am
Corn, your
demanding
time
a
is
written
up.
and published apology from the school board on your letterhead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corn. Okay, next is Patricia College.
I'm going to leave this here with you. I wasn't able to present it last month when I was here, but here's the comments from Brad George that Mike Horn was just referring about on a social network. He did offer me a small apology. He did recognize the link that was available for the book searching after the meeting of last week. You all never took the time to look on your phones on the PC website. That's apparent because at the end of the day, you said, there's no such link. Brad George said that. I gave you the opportunity to pull your cell phones out and look up that link. It's real easy. Search gay, search genderqueer, search what you want. But you didn't do it. Instead, you had this attorney here, Brandon, represent you and saying, well, you know, there's going to be some more book challenges because, you know, expect them, they're going to come. Well, they're going to come. But more importantly, each and every one of you board members, I believe you have hearts. I don't think you want this going on in our schools, but I think you have no choice. I think you took the funds. I think you're obligated. I think you said, when you said in one of your meetings you were not going to implement SEL in our schools, I think you meant it, but you know what's going on anyway, so why not just say that? So what's going on? Are you being forthright with us? Do I have to come here every month and literally just fight for these children? Or are you going to stand up as citizens and fight? Or are you going to listen to this gentleman worried about it getting to the Supreme Court? Because once it gets there, you've already been in jail. You've already broken the Constitution. You've already broken the federal and the state law. What are you guys waiting on? Him? Because he's not going to give you the answers. All he cares about is this county. He does not care about each and every one of you individually. The law states you will go to jail. You know those books are in there. You know them well. But you haven't done anything. So Ray George mentioned there would be a committee put together so the parents or people in the county can go and read these books. Are we going to do that? Because I'm here to volunteer. I'll be in there tomorrow. What have you done in 30 days to get those books out of there? I sent Brad George a picture of the website that searched genderqueer at the moment in our website. The night you guys searched was in our school. I took a picture of it and I sent to him. You know what he says? Well, guess what? He says, it was never checked out. Well, educate yourselves once more. There's a catalog number on that book. And it stated it was checked out at 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. You know, you guys, I'm tired of coming here telling you need to see what's going on, because if you're not in there looking, you're going to wind up getting arrested. You're breaking the laws because you've been informed. Been here 2 years ago, told you the same thing with the DPI and the funds. You keep accepting the funds, you keep signing your life away. Thank you very much. I hope you guys can get on board.
Thank you, Ms. College.
I'm going to leave this here because this is just proof for what Brad George said on social network.
Okay, moving on, number 8, information agenda, 8.1, AFS update. Ms. Willoughby.
Board members, Nick Marshall from AFS is here to give us an update on custodial services. Mr. Marshall.
Nice to see everybody again. First thing I'd like to do is introduce to you and also recognize Kim Bannerman here. For those that know her, can attest to her dedication and positive attitude, and so that's what I'm looking for. So she's been a big part of what I've been doing since I've come on board. So yes, she's been a big asset. So just wanted everybody to know that and recognize her. So thank you very much. Doing a great job. I really don't want to take up too much time here, but some of you have asked, I think Mr. Smith maybe, and some of the principals have asked, what's your plan? Do you have a plan? And I've had a plan, but I haven't really had, wasn't really in a way to answer that question, I guess. So I just briefly kind of want to kind of go over that, and then talk about a couple things that we've done, and then we'll move on. But answer any questions that you might have. But I guess it's basically my plan is there's 4 different sequences, and so I've listened. Be the first thing I've done. When I listen, I've been I've had a meeting with almost every principal face to face. I've contacted all of them. I haven't met every single one of them, but almost. But I've reached out to them, and I've listened to what they've had to say. I've listened to what our staff has to say. You know, it's interesting because sometimes one will say something, and then the other one will say the next, and so I just would listen and take notes. And then the second thing I have to do is basically analyze and think about what everybody's saying. Third thing I have to do is make decisions. We've had to make some tough decisions already. And then lastly, execute. And so that's kind of what I'm in the middle of doing right now, and executing on like I said, having to have some tough, difficult decisions, personnel decisions, but also good conversations as well too, like him. Just a few things that I guess I feel like we've accomplished just in the last, say, 30 days or so since I've started. Like I said, I've contacted all the principals and had a meeting with almost every single one of them, a face-to-face meeting. I have been able to supply each principal with an updated personnel roster, and we've made some significant changes in the management that was here. So that's basically all I've got, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying meeting everybody, and I appreciate it. So if anybody's got any questions.
Since you mentioned me from talking to you last time, and I'm very passionate about this because it's something I hear quite a bit about the schools. But so who haven't you met with then?
The Pender High, I have not. I've had, we on email we spoke briefly, but I haven't met her.
Okay.
I just met Bobby. We had an email going back and forth.
Who was that?
Bobby Simmons over at
Cape Fear. Okay.
Topsail Middle. And I want to say I think I've met all the other ones.
So, okay, so only 3 then.
Oh, yeah.
That's not too bad.
But that doesn't mean I haven't talked to them or addressed maybe something they've had, but I just mean face to face. Those are just the 3 that I haven't.
What positive changes then since you've talked about implementing those 4 different track records?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've at least been able to. They haven't had a personnel roster.
Okay.
So here we are at the end of the year, but I mean, I just got brought on, but here we are at the end of the year. I've supplied that with them. Making personnel decisions is not easy, and I think probably part of the reason why I'm here and why it didn't get done a long time ago because it's not easy to do.
Oh yeah.
So really, I've just started now. I mean, actually, so it's taken about a month. So that's definitely some action items I feel like I've done.
Okay.
A lot more to do, that's for sure.
And I don't mean to put you in the hot seat.
No,
I'm
look,
not trying to do that. I'm
okay.
just,
No, please, it's okay.
I just know that
It's been unacceptable.
yeah, you've not been in the driver's seat this whole time while it's been except well now you're just happen to be flying the plane that needs a lot of repair, it seems like. So I'm hoping that for what you're saying that we will see. I would encourage you, because those 3 principals that you haven't seen yet, I know they're going to be very positive work with you. And I would encourage you to get there at least by the next board meeting, because we need to go ahead and, I don't want to leave these 3 principals out, and then they're going to feel like, well, why didn't they get a visit from this nice man who's come here with all these promises that
Not
are
only
going
that,
to
but yeah, but fix their fix
Oh
their
yeah, you will.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Anybody else?
Board members, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. Okay, Okay, now on to the consent agenda. Board members, you've had a chance to look at the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Would there be a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Thank you. And second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and the motion carries. Okay, okay, next on the agenda, number 10, action agenda. End of life Chromebook replacement, Dr. Blumenreich.
Madam Chair, members of the board, what you have in front of you is a recommendation for us to purchase a large number of Chromebooks. Before we go into some of the details, just please be aware that we have approximately 3,500 Chromebooks that are approaching end of life at the end of this year. What that means is they cannot be used for any state assessment purposes. Please be aware that all of our testing, with only a few very rare exceptions, is all online. So we've got 3,500 Chromeboxes we can't use. They just will not work with the applications. So, but they still can be used for instructional purposes in the schools. And this request to take action and recommendation is to purchase a large number, 2,700, to replace those and replenish those, and that will be out of ESSER funds.
Board members, are there any questions?
I'd like to make a motion then to approve the purchase of the Chromebooks that have been recommended of the amount of $708,226.47 be spent out of ESSER funds.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry. One to say. Okay, let's see, 10.2, activity bus purchase. Mr. LaFawn?
Good evening, board members. I guess this is my time, my portion of the meeting, the next little bit. This is the time of year that I remove my safety net and move forward with purchases that have been in the budget, but I hold them back until the end of the year to make sure that we don't have anything come up. So one of these is an activity bus. Transportation Department's in need of an additional activity bus. And that bus is $100,790 will be from this year's capital outlay funds. And I ask that the board approve the purchase of this activity bus.
Do we have a motion?
I have a question. Who all will be using this? Is it one particular school or is it for the entire district?
I can't give a direct answer to that, but I can say that right now the individual schools have buses that are assigned to them. This would be, if it were to go to a school, then a bus from that school would be put back into the general fleet to be used by the entire district.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Let me ask one for you. All the activity buses we've already got are tied up about every day, aren't they?
We put a lot of miles on our activity buses, yes, sir.
And I'll make a motion that we approve this item.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Catherine Herring Resource Center Parking Lot Project. Mr. LaFawn.
Well, that one is out of order in my sheet.
Oh, I am so
That's
sorry.
okay.
I skipped right over Aramark. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
10.3, Aramark Food Cost Assistance Request.
Board members, at the last board meeting, Aramark made a presentation, which they asked for some additional funding from a federal government reimbursement program to help cover rising food costs. In that presentation, they asked that 12 cents per each breakfast meal and 18 cents per lunch meal be paid to Aramark to offset the rising costs retroactive to January 1st. And the board did not vote on that time, and I have not received any feedback. Tonight, I'd like the board to ask the board to either to vote on this item, and so we can get the finances straight on it going forward.
Clarifying questions as far as.
So, Ms. Chestnut, this would come out of,
The USDA sent us $180,370.75 to help offset food costs through the supply chain. And so it would actually come out of that money. And they're asking for $155,443.86 of it.
how much again?
They're asking for $155,443.86.
443.86.
Of how much again?
180,370.75.
And these are reimbursed federal dollars, right?
These are actually federal dollars that they have sent us separate from the other money that they send us for reimbursement. This actually come in March supply chain money.
So what happens if we don't use it for that?
I don't have a clue because I guess they're making the assumption that with the food prices gone up to what they were, there'd be no way that people wouldn't use it.
So it was sent to offset the food costs, and since they buy the food,
Yeah.
that was the assumption, that it would get.
So it's earmarked by the USDA, it has to be used for food costs.
Yes, it was marked as supply chain for food cost. Yes, sir.
So if we don't use it, do you have to give it back?
Well, I haven't asked them that. I don't know, to tell you the truth. I mean, my guess would be possibly because it is to offset the cost of food, and if we're not going to use it for that, then they probably would like to have it back.
There's no such, oh, I'm sure they would, like all the other money they take from us, but, my thing is, so this money is not free money though. I mean, it's, even though it's not coming out of our
That's not coming out of
pot, but it's coming out of somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
from the federal budget, from the federal government, yes. USDA.
So just to make it real simple, I think what it is I can break it down real simple. This is very complicated. That's why we got it. Basically, Aramark spends money to buy food to feed our kids. The government says we know food prices are more and sent more money to offset that cost. Am I right? Michelle?
Correct.
So we just
Most
assume
places
that
don't
money
have
goes to the people that buy the food.
No, there's a few places that do.
That's where that's at. I mean, that's really what
A legally binding contract. So if it were not used in this month and it were used in, let's say, the month of December, is that too late?
Probably,
Because it's the same, well, the year starts over in July, right?
July, because this was supposed to be retro back to January 1st to help offset food prices from January to June. Well, mostly May, since we're out in June.
Okay.
Okay, are there any more questions, board members?
Madam Chair, if I may, I make a motion that we approve the Aramark food cost assistance request in the amount of $155,443.86 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, well, the motion did not pass. Thank you. Okay, now, 10.4. I shook it up a little for you. The Catherine Herron Resource Center Parking Lot Project.
Madam Chair, board members, this is another project that I held back just in case there were funds elsewhere as we're getting close to the end of the year. This was part of our original paving project for the school year. I would ask that the board approve $52,430 to be paid to New Hanover Paving as a contractor to pave the parking lot at the Catherine Herring Resource Center.
Board members, any discussion, any questions?
Let me ask one question about paving. There's a project that was supposed to go on at Cape Fear Middle and Elementary. When is that gonna happen?
If you're the road project for Saturday, as soon as the fire.
Okay. So it's not like a money thing
No,
from?
no. As soon as the fire hydrants are put in, so we don't have to, once that's put in, we can pave over, so we don't have to cut the road to put the fire lines in.
They were out there today, I believe, weren't they?
They're
Past the people out there digging.
They're working on it pretty as hard as they can go.
Okay.
Mr. Simmons had to even move recess for him one day.
Notice that I've had to pick between like one or the other for money reasons.
No, sir.
Make a motion then to approve the $52,430 from capital outlay for the parking lot payment of the KHRC.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
And it has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That is passed. And our final item, 10.5, Pender High School Track Resurfacing Project. Mr. LaFawn.
I feel like this one is my baby because it's been a long time coming. This is something that was put on hold as we worked through the complications with the Trask High School project. That situation has been resolved. The Pender High School track was put back out for rebid so that we could obtain a new contractor. I asked that the board approve $154,400 from capital outlay funds to be paid to AmeriCorps Sports Surfaces to resurface the track at Pender High School and also add an additional long jump runway to that facility to bring it up to standard so that they can host regional and state track meets.
Board members, any questions?
Make a motion to approve the $154,400 from capital outlay to do the Pender High School track resurfacing project.
Second. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and that was not the last thing.
It's not.
10.6, which is Synovia GPS contract for activity bus fleet.
And board members, recently our GPS tracking for activity bus fleet, the company that does that is no longer going to be our contractor. Synovia provides the service for our yellow bus fleet. And this is basically what we're going to do is add the activity bus fleet to the contract for the yellow bus fleet in order to track activity buses while they are on the road.
So the activity buses, they do have a tracking on them right now?
They have not been tracked for the last.
The companies, okay.
Yes.
Are you actually, is the yellow bus devices, have they been useful, I guess is a good question.
Well, I have Mr. Smith here to answer that question if you want more details, but in my opinion, just from talking with him and the mechanics and bus drivers, it's been extremely useful.
Okay.
It's been a very good thing for us to have, and when the mechanic makes a road call, there's no, they put it into Synovia and boom, they go right to where the breakdown has occurred.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve that item.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? I guess we're past that, okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. LaFawn. Okay, at this time, we are going to have comments from board members. And I'm going to start with Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. I believe they're here tonight. If not, if you see them, let them know. April Perkins, is she here tonight? I want to wish you a happy birthday this month. She's one of our outstanding principals that we have, and so I want to say thank you for all your hard work. And so I know school's about over with, but thank you and happy birthday. And over at Mapples Corner, is Miss Avery Ellington here? All right, maybe she's already started her birthday. if you get to see her, make sure this month she has a birthday. I always like to, if I know ahead of time about the birthdays, because we got some very special staff members, so I want to thank you for that. Also, I know that several of the board members, including myself, were able to go to the Special Olympics that they had at Heidi Trask. And what a wonderful experience to be able to go and see that, to cheer on the different schools. One thing's in common that I've noticed, and I went home and talking to my wife about it, and just being so grateful for what the blessings of God, I'll say that. It's hard not to get a little emotional about it, to see those children running and playing things that we take for granted every day. And so much divides us in society. We already know that. Probably divided in this room based on politics and all kinds of belief. But when you go and look at the heart of those little champions, and that's what every one of those kids are, to me that's what it's all about, is seeing these children be able to participate, to be involved, and to know that they are loved by staff in Pender County Schools, and that we're doing everything we can to show them that and show their parents. And I tell you, the parents were so proud. I know Cindy and Beth would tell you the same thing, that the parents were so proud to talk to them, and every single one of them had something positive to say about the principal or the teacher. So I just want to say that next time it comes around, if you've never had an opportunity, please just carve out a few minutes in your schedule to go see the Special Olympics that they have. And I promise you, you'll leave a better person when you see those children than when you first got there. I know I did. Now to go on to something a little more heavier than that. Many of you probably have heard the comments about books and other material used in schools. The first line of defense is always going to be the parents. And I encourage parents that watch this YouTube program that our meetings are on. Parents, know what your children are doing with vaping and everything else. It all starts in the home. And so we are part of the educational program, but parents are a very big part of that puzzle piece. And I personally want to encourage, as a parent or of three, that you've got to really see a need, and if you do see it, then don't be scared to ask, well, why is this being taught, and ask questions. Every teacher we have, I know, will be dedicated to talk to you. And if you feel like your answers didn't get, then go to the principal and talk with them. But make sure to understand, I think that every person I've ever met in almost 4 years of being on the board, I think every person in our school system is doing a fantastic job. And I want to thank them, but we do need parent involvement. So please get involved if you can, if you're a parent or even a grandparent. And thank you so much.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Hall?
I don't have any.
Okay. Mrs. Fontana?
Yes. You know, since Mr. Smith is so good about making his list, I decided this month I was going to be prepared and I was going to have my list ready to go. First of all, congratulations to all of those who were recognized at the retirement celebration last week. It was a very nice event. While most, if not all, of the retirees or soon-to-be retirees had a sense of sadness in leaving, most of them, I will tell you, already have plans for what they're going to do day one. But from a retiree herself, once upon a time and now again from the restaurant business, it doesn't work out that way. You think you've got plans, I'm going to do this. Oh, no, it changes. You think you have plans, and you don't have the plans you think you have. So we are so excited for all of our retirees and their new journey that they're getting ready to begin. Also, a huge thanks to all schools who have already had their field days and other events this year. I have had so many parents and so many students, some of my own, and staff members have said to me how nice it was to have some normalcy again and to see those kids. Now, mind you, in our family, we had to make a trip to the emergency room because of field day. We got a little too fast, and some kid was running beside him like the Flash, and he decided to be the Flash and ended up in the ER. But anyhow, he had a great day besides a little bruised rib, and he said, I can't wait to do it again. I hope they do it in middle school. So there you go. Emerge Ortho. For those of you talking about having end up in the ER, talking about Emerge Ortho, I'm not sure if you realize this, and for all those of you who are listening, please don't forget that Emerge Ortho has an office now in Burgaw. Now, except for like MRIs and maybe some scans, you have to go to Wilmington. But when it's right here, for those of you who live in Atkinson or Maple Hill or Burgaw, we have been there twice Starting to see the theme in my family. We have been there twice already, and they have been absolutely phenomenal. We did have to take our son, who had to go to Wilmington office for MRI, but other than that, we did everything right here, and it was absolutely wonderful. So with gas prices the way they are now, if you can get into emergency ortho here in Burgaw, that's the way to go, people. So just don't forget that. See, I got my list. As shown earlier during the recognitions portion of the meeting tonight, it's very clearly obvious that we have so many gifted students. This weekend, I had the pleasure of attending this year's Spring Fest that's held every year in Burgaw, and if you don't know much about it, everything has to be from Pender County, homemade, homegrown, handmade, and something else. It has to be stuff that Pender County residents or whatever have been a part of. So there is this huge area that's devoted just to our kids at every school for their artwork. And it was amazing. My husband, he doesn't get into that stuff that much, but he walked around, he's like, hey, come here, look at this school, look at this school over here, look at this kindergartner that did this, can you believe it? I said, yeah, and all the art teachers were there. I know that they take turns that day, but they were there, and they were so proud to hear such comments like that. So if you ever get a chance, please make sure you get to go. Finally, and I won't talk off the cuff on this one, I'd just like to say, make a comment about the Annandale School. And I've been quiet on this, but there's been some reasoning because I've had to think long and hard and pray over how I was going to handle this and what I was going to say. I was very privileged to be once upon a time a part of what was used to be Annandale School. I was hired as assistant principal at Topsail Elementary, which was the only elementary school at one time on the east side. That just shows you how much we've grown. And I worked with a very, very, very special woman who is dear to my heart and in my life, named Mary Jordan. And Mary Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, when it was just Annandale, and help me out, she was the principal when it was just the Annandale School, and it was a K2. Am I correct? Am I right? No. And then the 3-5 was down at what the government building is now presently. And I learned about that. So we fast forward, and Mr. Keith probably knows where I'm going with this, but we fast forward to 98 when I was hired as principal at Burgaw Elementary. Now, when I went to Burgaw Elementary, I met this lady. Her name was Ruth Johnson. And she was my secretary bookkeeper. And she gave me a tour. Well, as we took the tour my first day, she took me all along. And I said, well, tell me about C.F. Pope High School, because that's what this used to be, right? And she said, yes. And she's an alumni. Throughout that day, and from that moment on, the alumni reached out to me as a principal. Now, here I am. I'm not from Pender County. I'm from a place called Hillsborough, North Carolina, near Chapel Hill. Didn't know anything about this community except Mary Jordan and some of the people on the east side who'd really helped me, and Triana Kirkland and a lot of those people who'd been there for me. But here I go to Burgaw and I learned so much. Well, I guess Miss Johnson, if you know Ruth Johnson, you don't say no to Ruth Johnson. And she reached out to other people in her alumni. And before I knew it, they started coming to me and asking me if they could be a part. And we just want to sit down with you and tell you about C.F. Pope and what our days were like and our years were like. From that moment grew a relationship so deep that I still consider that alumni a huge part of who I became as a school administrator. They said, we want to do this, we want to do this. I had a boys to men group. They spearheaded funding that for my school and helping me take boys who normally wouldn't go to places to see theatrical productions and being part of sports like we did at college arenas, and we did that. They bought the benches for my school that said C.F. Pope or Cicero Pope. And so then when the annex was built, the addition to Burgaw Elementary School, the board came to me and said, what do you want to do? I'll never forget, Tom Roper came to me and he said, Cindy, so what are you thinking? And I went to my staff and I said, so what do y'all think? I said, here's what I'm thinking. I mean, they've done a display case. We had all kinds of stuff. Couldn't get a cheerleading uniform, but I had football uniforms. I had pictures from so many people who had been a part of C.F. Pope. And so it just made sense that we said, well, we need to name it the C.F. Pope Annex. So we did. Then I met this gentleman who called me and said, I want you to come to my house. I said, oh my, I don't know about this. Well, I got to know him, and if those of you know him, his name is Sam Art Williams. Sam Art Williams was producer, director, and writer from shows such as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And yes, he knows Will Smith. And he knew his first wife too, apparently, because I've heard lots of good stuff about that. And he got to tell me about Cagney and Lacey, and he told me about hanging with Mr. Cooper and all that. He said, well, come to my house. And me and the drama teacher and somebody else went, and he said, look at all my pictures. He had photograph upon photograph of there. Then he wrote plays that were at Thalian Hall based on his mom and some other people that went to the CF Pope, and he had all the screenplays. Make a long story short, he said, pick out what you want. I was like, no way. There's no way. He said, you sure? He said, yeah. I said, all right, give it to me and I'll frame it. He said, you know what? Let me hold on to it. 3 weeks later, he called and said, come meet me out front. He's a CF Pope. His mom was a CF Pope alumni. He came to me and had framed all of them, y'all. All of them in primary colors. So up and down the hallways of Burgott Elementary, you saw things that had to do with CF Pope. And you saw things that had to do with people who came out from people who'd been to CF Pope. So I believe in history. I believe in Annandale. It's not that any of us don't, but I would just encourage you to get out there, get to know the school, get to know the PTO, tell them your story, meet with them. That's what this is all about. I'm not saying we're going to vote. I'm not saying we're not going to vote. I'm just saying that's my story, and I hope that you would do the same for Melissa Wilson and their staff and their community and all of that also. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontana. First of all, I want to follow it up with saying I totally agree with what Ms. Fontana has said. When you can get the community and an alumni association together and get them talking, it would be so much better, and if there could be some cohesiveness there. And that's all we're asking, if they could start a conversation with the school and the community. But moving on from that, the one thing I did want to bring up today was looking at Facebook this past week. I have seen all of the teacher appreciation posts from all the schools and the PTAs, and I just wanted to say thank you. If any of you from the PTA are here, any of them, or listening tonight, you don't know how much that we appreciate all the love that you show these teachers and all of the funds that you put in their hands to get things for their classrooms. Your good deeds are, well, they make everything happen for us, and we do appreciate it. And also, I just got a cheat sheet from Ms. Fontana reminding me that EOGs are going on this week, so make sure that your kids get a lot of rest, feed them a good breakfast, and again, to all the parents who are out there working hard, we thank you too. So that is how I am going to close my comment. Let's see, now we're moving on to comments from the board attorney.
All right, good evening, board. Good evening, community. One of the more exciting things in a school board attorney's life is when a school law case gets to the United States Supreme Court that could change the way I do my job. So, on April 25th, there was a case argued in front of the United States Supreme Court called Kennedy versus Bremerton School District. Coach Kennedy, this is a school prayer case. Now, you may say, Brandon, we have established lots of rules. Well, this particular set of facts is pretty great. Coach Kennedy prayed at center field after football games for approximately 5 years without issue. And eventually, members of the community took issue with it. He was terminated for it. But now, this Supreme Court had an opportunity to pass on this case and say we have precedent to handle this. Because they do have precedent to handle school prayer cases. It's rather clear. However, they took this case up, which is signaling that there is going to be a changing of the viewpoint of whether or not employees can pray where it is visible to students without violating the establishment clause of the Constitution. And so I am excited to see what that opinion says when it comes out this summer. So stay tuned. The only reason I mentioned that is because the U.S. Supreme Court does not take up anything without a reason, and that is one of those cases that's coming up. Short session of the North Carolina General Assembly begins meeting on May 18. So that's coming up very soon. I would encourage you, if there are things that this board or members of the community would like to raise with your representatives, and now is the time. They're about to get back together. The prediction is that the session will be adjourned sine die on July 1. That is the prediction right now. The last thing I will say is that it's a privilege and an honor to be here with you each month to see the great work of Pender County Schools. And just know that whenever I go other places, I also brag about how wonderful Pender County Schools is. So with that, Madam Chair, those are the end of my comments.
Thank you, Mr. McPherson. Okay, number 13, the report from our superintendent. Dr. Hill?
Thank you for everything. Thank you for the EOG reminders. You guys covered most of it. I will say, the big deal is we are finishing a little earlier than normal this year, so just a reminder, it's going to slip up on you. Graduations are the 23rd at early college, the 26th for all the traditional high schools, and Pila also is on the 26th this year. And a little art in there. If you missed the productions this year, especially the one, I think the most recent one was probably Tulsa High School, you missed a treat. Those are back in effect, so please look forward to those. That's a lot of time these kids spend, and they do a show that I'd rather see than some things I've seen on Broadway. I mean, they're that good. Congratulate them for what they put out this year. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hill. We are now moving into closed session. Would anyone like to make a motion for closed session?
I'll make that motion. The Pender County Board of Education will enter closed session subject to advice from the attorney pursuant to NCGS 143.318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee. The board will also go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege to consider confidential student matters as provided in NCGS 143.318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 USC 1232G and NCGS 115C-402 to establish or instruct staff or agents concerning the terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property as provided in NCGS 143.318.11A5 and to consider and give instructions to the board's attorney concerning Burns Fisher versus Pender County Board of Education and others.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, everyone. We are now in closed session. Welcome back. We've returned from closed session. At this time, do we have a motion to come out of closed session?
I'll make a motion, we come out of closed session.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move into number 15, action continued from closed session. Do we have a motion for the human resource report and addendum?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, do we have a motion to approve the closed session minutes from April?
Make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Before we vote on that, do we need to change that? Do they remain?
Very, very specific. Making the motion, I believe, means for those motions to be approved
Remain confidential.
and remain
And remain
confidential because of
confidential.
and so thank you, Mr. Smith.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to 15.3, bond resolution. Mr. McPherson.
I think, Madam Chair, I think we need to add those items to the agenda first.
I'd like to make a motion that we add to the action part of our agenda 15.3, the bond referendum information and vote. 15.4, information and vote on CTEC agreement. And 15.5, a reconsideration of item number 10.3 dealing with Airmark.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the agenda has been amended.
We got one to item 15.3.
Okay, item 15.3, Mr. McPherson, bond resolution.
All right. Good afternoon, Board. As we continue our efforts with the county to put a school bond referendum on the 2022 general election ballot, the next step, based on the memorandum from the county's bond council, is to make the formal request for funds via a resolution. That resolution is before this board. My understanding is it's comprehensive, but it's very straightforward about what the request is. Do I have any questions from board members about the contents of that resolution? Okay. Madam Chair, that's, if there are no questions, I would
Make a motion to approve the resolution of the bond that has been presented to the board.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. On to 15.4, CTEC Memorandum of Understanding.
I'll make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding for CTEC.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 15.5, Aramark request for food cost assistance. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, it's my understanding that this federal money would need to be used or lost. So it's my hope that with this change of vote that we'll see some a little more food quality improvement, I guess is a good way to put this. But anyway, I'll make the motion that we amend the contract to include this additional amount of federal funds.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. At this time, we now need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
We need a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. We are now adjourned.